Saturday Social is powered by EA Sports FIFA 23 with PlayStation.
Only one place to start, Man United. Go on, you're a United fan. What did you make of the game, mate? Let's get your thoughts first.
No, less said about the game, the better. Let's move on. You know, positivity going forward, because last week was about as bad as it gets.
Right, okay.
Seriously.
Strong words from Joe there. Of course, if the viewers didn't know, it was a 2-1 defeat at home to Brighton. And, of course, Gary Neville and Roy Keane were in the studio, and they had some strong words to say. This is what they had to say after the game.
With Falcao, Ibrahimovic, Cavani, these desperate sort of experience. Igalo, we've seen it now for 8-10 years. It's a pattern. It's happening time and time again. We don't even get angry, we don't even get animated about it anymore. It's got to the point where I don't even want to comment about it.
Who's making these decisions? Who's deciding which players are going to come in? You know, they're talking about Darren Fletcher, technical director. You've got a new coach, well. John Murtagh, obviously he's involved. There's a new chief executive. There's talking that they're going back to bringing Alex Ferguson and David Gill back to the club. My goodness, what's going on?
My goodness, what's going on? Strong words.
What is going on?
There.
What is going on?
So it gave us a nice idea, because we've got big Man United fan, influencer Harry Pinero, on the show. So we thought we'd task him with picking a team that would get United back to where they belong. Do you want to explain the criteria for this? Because there's a few bits to explain.
It took a while to explain this to Harry.
It
His first selection was extremely questionable, put it that way.
And changed it a bit, didn't you?
But we got there eventually. So basically we asked Harry to come up with an 11, like you said, that could get Manchester United back challenging for where they want to be. So it can include players that are already at the club, and it can include new signings as well. So it doesn't have to be a brand new first 11. And yeah, like I said, first draft a bit rough, but we got there eventually, HP. So should we just crack on with it?
Yes, let's crack on with it. So let's first up by looking at the players that he's picked that are already at the club.
Okay.
So, of course, as you said there, Joe, you can have an 11 that's already at United. You can have 11 new players. Harry has decided to stick with 5 players who are already there, as you can see on the screen now. So Varane, Martinez, Malacia, Eriksen and Sancho. So firstly, Harry, why have you decided to pick those?
Well, I think with Malacia, Eriksen and Martinez, this is their first season at the club, and I feel like they've got a lot to offer. Spoken to a few players and they've been amazing in training. I think it's just the team itself that's there right now just won't fit with the quality that we have. Sancho, I think the first season wasn't the best, but no one at United could really be happy bar Ronaldo about their start. So I want to give him another season to start. And I think Varane also, injuries and hasn't actually had a consistent run of games. And I think if he can stay fit, we can actually see the best of him, provided, you know, the team plays well.
No Bruno Fernandez in there. Why is that?
For me, I just think, like with Bruno, I think he's a wonderful player and stuff. But I think if we are going to move forward, I would love to see a different type of player in that position. I think Bruno's had a great season. But for me, I just think there's better players in that position. And I think Bruno...
We've got to bring Theo in. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but you were wanting to jump in there, so go on. Your facials were...
You don't rate Bruno Fernandez?
Of course I do, but you asked me, and this is the question, if we was going to get back to where we need to be...
Is he not the man to do it?
I think you'll find out who I would put in.
So you're playing a 4-3-3?
Yes, I am.
So you're scrapping Fred and McTominay?
Yes, of course. Of course. We've seen over the last...
The whole formation's changing?
Yeah, of course, and that's what I want. I don't think, that Ten Hag wants to have Fred and McTominay as his 2 centre midfield players.
Really?
I don't think so. Of course not. I don't think the players that we've wanted to get haven't come, like the De Jongs and so on and so forth. We need a ball carrying midfield player, and I don't think those 2 players have that in them.
So you have one sit and then 2 in front?
Yes.
And, of course, another name not on there, Ronaldo. Yeah. We know that you've spoken in glowing terms about him on this show before. So just explain to me what you want to happen. He only spoke about him in glowing
terms when he wanted the shirt signed.
No,
don't
be like that.
Don't like guy HP Ronaldo. Now I've got the shirt.
With Ronaldo, I think it's very... Because even at the game, when he came on, there was a lot of boos and then there was a lot of chairs as well.
There was boos?
Yeah, of course there was. Yeah, because I think the fact that you've openly said you want to leave the club and no one's come to buy you, I think it just makes us look bad as well as a club. And even himself, like, no one wants him. And he doesn't want to be there. Now he's playing because no one's come to buy him. And I think the mentality of him has changed in comparison to last season. So if a player doesn't want to be at the club, why should he be there? Do you know what I mean?
All right, should we go on to your first selection then?
Yep.
And it is in goal, of course. So you've binned off David De Gea
in
your sort of dream Manchester United 11. And you've brought in Robert Sanchez, the Brighton goalkeeper.
I think he's a great keeper. I think, if I'm correct, he's like 64 games, 25 clean sheets. Very good keeper. He was great against us again with Rashford's chance as well. Very good. And I think he would be a great keeper, great with his feet as well. And I think that's one thing that De Gea doesn't have, is that he's not really good with his feet. And I think Ten Hag's style of football is very much so you've got to be a good passer. And he's a great one.
And he has usurped David De Gea for the national team as well. I think it's easy to overlook that. Luis Enrique has started picking Robert Sanchez over De Gea. Phil, what's your opinion on De Gea at Manchester United?
I feel like he's been arguably their best player over the last, like, how long has he been at the club? Like 10 years?
Yeah.
Something stupid like that. I would say you've got bigger fish to fry than getting rid of De Gea. I know, if you're a director, obviously you want to replace him with Sanchez, who I actually think is a very good choice. But De Gea he's just been like your player of the season the last 3 years.
But I'm thinking about, like, as time goes on, De Gea is going to get to a stage where he's probably not going to be at the best that he's been at. And I think Sanchez is young and has a long future ahead of him. Premier League experience as well.
Would you keep him as number 2 to
Of
like
course,
help,
I would have
him?
2 of the best. In every position, I'd like to have 2 of the best. So that's what I mean.
But that didn't work with Dean Henderson, did it? We've seen Dean Henderson come out and say that it was criminal that he didn't get as many minutes last season.
But
So
then
could you
Dean
have
Henderson
that?
and De Gea, you're going to pick De Gea. Let's be honest, you would put De Gea over Dean Henderson because of experience. And I think, for me, and this is why I said about the Bruno thing, I wouldn't take him out of the team. I would just make sure that there's strength and depth, like good quality. And that's the only way we're going to compete with the likes of City and Liverpool.
OK, let's have a look at your second signing. So this is at right back. Harry, tell us who you've picked and why.
Now this is going to be a bit rogue for a
2
lot
Brighton
of people.
players, first
yeah.
2 picks it.
Yes, I have. Lamptey.
Is that because you're at the Brighton game? You're just really impressed with Man
Anyway, I've
United Brighton?
tweeted about Lamptey for a long time here, and I think he is such a good player. People talk about his height and stuff, but what he offers to Brighton on that right-hand side is what we've been missing. We need a player who understands how to play with your right winger, is fast, technical, can get the job done, and is a great tackler as well. And I think Lamptey is that.
That's why he bought Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, but obviously Wan-Bissaka's career hasn't gone the way we've wanted it to. I mean, at Palace he was great tackler, but when he's come to United, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's United's style of play. He gets exposed a lot, and then we get to see the bad side of Bissaka, which I think he isn't really who he is, but it's the Premier League.
You mentioned Wan-Bissaka there. They spent big money bringing him in. They've got other players in that position. Are you surprised they haven't strengthened in that area? Is that an area you think Man United needs to add players?
Oh, yeah. United, like, they have a habit of just absolutely splashing money and it just going in the bin constantly. So if they were to go after Lamptey, they would have to get him for a good price, or another option would be Lima.
Yeah, good. But I personally love Lamptey. And even when he came on the other day, skin lasher, quick. And I like that. I like players.
You know
that
what? I actually can't knock any of your choices so far. Actually.
Thank you, Theo.
It's annoying me that he's
It's a small
full
defence
knowledge.
though there. Lamptey and Martinez in a back four.
Yeah.
Like,
And Malacia as well.
All right, let's move into the midfield then,
Yeah.
because you've already, one name is obviously springing to mind here, as it's being talked about constantly. You're still back in the De Jong deal.
Yes. In the ideal world, watching De Jong, you understand why we want him so badly.
Yeah,
He's such a
I
great
agree.
player. We need someone who can get the ball from the defence and actually carry the ball, make incisive passes. And for me, I think he does that so well. And I think what Ten Hag's been saying is that it's very hard to find somebody of that calibre as a replacement for someone that we've been missing for years. We haven't had that. And I think that's why I think United don't have that fluidity like other teams have. He has that in abundance for me.
What do you make of the actual Theo pursuit? Team's got a hat-trick, got excited. The pursuit of Frankie de Jong. Obviously, it's gone on for so long. A club like Man United. At what point do you pursue it, and at what point do you give up with it?
It's borderline embarrassment. Like, no, it is, because United are meant to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, and they're trying to get one of the best players in the world. In the past, especially under Fergie, he wouldn't even bat an eyelid and go to United. He actually is turning down Manchester United.
But if the manager
he
wants
doesn't
him as
want
the first
to, he doesn't want to be there.
If the manager wants him as the first choice, do you give up on your brand new manager and his selection? Or do you continue to pursue it?
You have to sack it off. If you're going after De Jong and he keeps saying no and no, at what point do you have to...
Do you not think
point
there
do
must
you
be
take the
something
no?
going on behind the scenes where he must be giving some indication
Players talk.
that
No,
I am...
I think players talk, man.
I think it'll be Barca just trying to get the money off United and they go, oh, we could do this, we could do that. But at the end of the day, the clubs could agree on something and De Jong goes, I don't want to move. You just stay at
You
Barcelona.
think United are being strung along a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I think if anywhere he's going to go to somewhere like Chelsea, or he'll just stay at Barcelona.
That'll be the biggest
and they'll
heartbreak
magically appear like a bunch of money and pay off De Jong.
How big of an L would that be for Manchester
The biggest of all time. We've lost our actual main target of the season to one of our rivals. And I guess it makes more sense to go to Chelsea because you understand what's happening over there. United's very, very confusing right now. We don't know. But yeah, that would be my
Go on, give us your prediction with De Jong then. Where do you think he'll be playing his football at the end of the window?
Well, I'm a positive man and I think we are going to get him 4 hours before the transfer deadline.
There we go.
I love it.
You know what I love about HP?
That's going to happen now.
Yeah.
He never
4
sits on the
hours.
fence, does he?
Never.
Never sits on the fence.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to ask you about your next selection, Harry, so we can have a look at
This
who
is
you've gone with.
farcical.
because this is quite a big one.
Yep.
So
What is this?
Valverde.
Yes,
now
I
started
have.
11 of Real Madrid's final 30 league games last season, no goals and 1 assist in 31 league appearances. Worth pointing out, he's got a lot of competition for places in that position, but he's just signed a new 6-year contract in 2021 with a €1 billion release clause.
Yes, there's a reason.
Still think that
Literally, how are we getting Valverde?
Now listen, what's going to happen is, with the amount of midfield players that Real Madrid have bought, with Tchouaméni
Tchouaméni,
and
Camavinga.
Camavinga, it's going to be tough for someone like him to get in there. I think he's such a great player. I think technically gifted. I think he's a forward-thinking player, which, again, what we're missing as well.
I've never seen a player run as hard as Valverde.
That's what I'm saying, and I think, you see, the one thing we see with United players, and we always say, is why aren't they trying hard enough? They always feel like they're 2 seconds off the game, and I think he's someone who's very switched on. We need that type of player, and if you look at that midfield, it's technically astute, it's very good, and they know how to play football. They know how to move around the pitch and make decisive passes, which we're missing.
How realistic is that?
Oh, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But your suggestion here is Eduardo Camavinga.
Yeah.
That's even less realistic.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? He's the future of Real Madrid.
Yeah, you know what? Neither are going to happen. But if you're technical director at Manchester United, that's who you want. Valverde can play on the right. He can play centre. He's versatile. The only ones that can afford him are PSG.
Yeah.
If they want to, they'll just go, here's your money, we'll take him. United, and also, why would he go United? He's playing Champions League football.
Well, when we win our first Premier League,
United are going to finish 9th for you.
Borderline 9th, 8th.
Wow.
I don't think you understand. They're actually terrible.
I feel like to touch the forehead.
They are so bad.
Arteta went back to about 8th while he was building his team. And
But Theo, I have no qualms with what you're saying about us finishing 8th to 9th. I've already said this season's going to be so difficult, worse than last season, because it's a new manager and he's finding out the team. He's got players who he doesn't really want at the time. So I understand that. But if we're going to build in the next 2 to 3 years, if we are a powerhouse again, that is not a signing that can't happen, I'm telling you.
But I just think you're going to struggle making these big signings if you're not in Europe. And if you are finishing 8th or 9th, why would anyone go there? Unless they see the process.
And that's what
it's
I
going to
think.
take. You're about 3 years behind.
I believe.
Well, do you think that's why he's targeting these Ajax players? Because he knows that you might have the pool there. I know, like, we can have a look at your next selection, for instance, is Anthony. It's another Ajax player, but he knows that you might have more of a pool with him. Is that why they're doing it?
He trusts those players. He knows how to play with them. They know, like, the players know him. They know what he wants from them. And I think for me, it's like when a player has an understanding of what the manager is asking of them, it's so much easier, and you can see it on the pitch. And I think with the players that he's bought, with Mr. Martinez, who is unreal against Brighton.
Yeah.
I can just
and
see.
so, Anthony, I presume you'd be playing him on the right there. The graphics go on the left, but you'd swap Sancho and Anthony.
I think
right?
he's the future of Brazilian football for me. I think he has it.
Ooh, that is a huge claim.
He is.
Wow.
I think he is. Honestly, I've watched him play. I've seen him play for Ajax. And he has it all. It's just that he needs to be tested. And I think the Premier League would be the perfect test for him with a manager like Ten Hag.
Interestingly, it's another player United have been linked with.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see
Another
whether that
Ajax
one
boy.
might happen or not. It looks like maybe not.
Probably
but
not.
Not
if
this
Harry was
season.
there, maybe it would. But let's have a look at his final pick. I quite like this one, Harry, to be fair.
This is
Your final
interesting.
pick is Tammy Abraham, Roma's top scorer last season with 27 goals. Scored 17 in the league. Won the Conference League winner with Roma, of course, last season. I think people forget as well that he was Chelsea's top Premier League scorer in 1920 season, in his first Premier League season with 15 goals. So he's done very well. Good return over the course of a lot of seasons. And you think that's attainable. I do think at Roma, now that they've got Dybala and Zaniolo feeding him, I think he's going to score loads of goals there. But you think that's achievable. How much would you think you'd have to pay to get him over the line?
80 mil. I think he'll be. His price will continually go up. I think
Chelsea have got a buyback next year for 80 million.
80,
So look, I didn't even know that, and I just knew that's the range of how he must. Yeah,
The knowledge.
A little bit of a genius. But I think with Tammy, I think the reason why people probably don't put respect on his name is because Chelsea sold him, innit? But for me, I think he's a class finisher. He knows how to score. Premier League proven as well. Goal scorer, and that's what we're missing. We're missing someone who know how tall, can score left foot, right foot headers. Like, I love that from
What do
Tammy.
you think, Theo?
He's very, very underrated.
Yeah.
And I think if I was Tammy Abraham, I'd stay at Roma because you're going to probably score more goals.
Yeah.
Probably enjoy life a little bit more in Italy.
Helps his England selection, does it? Because
Yeah.
he's playing regularly?
No, I think it would help his England selection if you went back to Chelsea or United. I think we have this problem where if someone does go abroad, for some reason they go off the radar and like they just reduce their chance of getting in
Look at
England. Exactly. Whereas everyone else plays in the Prem and they get selected for their national side.
That's England's problem, man.
We don't look outside the Prem a lot of the
The
time.
other thing is, well, the fans absolutely love him there as
Yeah.
well. Let's have a reminder then of your final team. We've seen Harry's thoughts. So very quickly, Theo, your thoughts on that. Be as honest as possible. Where does that United team finish and how realistic is that?
That United team could do well, but it's just never going to happen. Like you're playing like career mode or something. 'Cause, like I could see you signing Lamptey and Sanchez in the next 3 years.
Yeah. They're realistic.
That's it. Okay. Maybe Anthony.